Hi, I'm Lena, and welcome to Super Data JP, the channel where we turn Japan's real estate and cost of living numbers into answers you can actually use. Every video here is built on verified government data, not opinions, and not guesses. Whether you're planning to invest, relocate, or just curious what life in Japan really costs, you're in the right place. Let's get into today's numbers.
Search, how much income do you need for Japan permanent residency, and you'll get a number. That number is mostly beside the point. The thing that actually sinks applications in 2026 is something almost nobody checks before it's too late. Second video in our visa and residency series. Last time, the business manager visa's new investment minimum. This time, what permanent residency actually requires, following the Immigration Services Agency's guideline revision on February 24, 2026. Here's the first surprise: the law itself sets no specific income figure at all. The actual legal text just requires assets or skills sufficient to support an independent livelihood, deliberately vague. In practice, immigration lawyers point to a rough range, roughly 3,500,000 yen to 5 million yen a year, about $21,605 to $30,864, depending on household size, as a soft guide, not a hard cutoff. Why the sudden scrutiny? Immigration authorities have flagged permanent residency as increasingly used as a stepping stone toward naturalization and long-term settlement, and they've responded by tightening exactly the checks that used to be handled loosely. The baseline residency requirement, 10 years of continuous residence in Japan, of which at least 5 years must be on a work or residence-based status, technical intern training and specified skilled worker status don't count toward that portion. But several categories of applicant qualify on a much shorter timeline, and a lot of people don't realize they're eligible. Married to a Japanese national, a permanent resident, or a special permanent resident? You need a substantively real marriage that's lasted 3+ years, plus just 1 year of continuous residence in Japan. Highly skilled professional points matter too. Score 3 years in category if you maintain 70+ points, but just 1 year if you maintain 80+ points. Recognized special highly skilled talent needs only 1 year. Long-term resident, taijusha, status holders qualify after 5 years of continuous residence under that specific status. One detail people miss: biological children of that marriage need only the same 1 year of continuous residence too. The marriage length requirement applies to the parents' relationship, not the child. Now the part that actually decides most 2026 applications: how you paid your taxes, pension, and health insurance, not just whether you're paid up today. The guideline's own language is blunt: even if you're fully paid up by the time you apply, if any payment wasn't made within its original due period, that gets evaluated negatively as a rule. A concrete example: one national pension payment made 3 months late, 5 years ago, fully settled since, can still count against you today, even though your balance shows 0 owed. This isn't a paperwork formality either. Immigration authorities electronically cross-check applicant records against the National Tax Agency and the Japan Pension Service as standard procedure. Gaps get caught. Getting rejected isn't just a delay, either. A denied application sits on your immigration record, and reapplying means rebuilding confidence in your case, often with a lawyer's help the second time around, which most applicants try to avoid the first time. Second major change: you now generally need to be holding your status's maximum possible visa period, typically 5 years, at the moment you apply. Historically, a 3-year visa was often accepted in practice. That flexibility ends. Strict enforcement of the 5-year requirement begins April 1, 2027. There's a transition window. If you're holding a 3-year period of stay as of March 31, 2027, you're still treated as meeting this requirement, but only for a decision issued within that visa's remaining validity. This mainly bites people on statuses like engineer/specialist in humanities, where a 5-year period is legally available but immigration often issued 3 years anyway on a first or second renewal, leaving holders one step short without realizing it. This quietly catches people who've been renewing 3-year visas for a decade, assuming that was always fine, because until now, it usually was. Third factor, and this one isn't written into law at all: how many days you've spent outside Japan. Immigration lawyers consistently cite the same informal thresholds: roughly 90 consecutive days abroad, or somewhere around 100 to 150 cumulative days in a single year, as the point where continuous residence itself gets questioned. To be clear, this is practitioner guidance built from experience with real cases, not a published legal rule, but it shows up consistently enough across immigration law firms that it's worth tracking your own travel days. The law's other pillars are more straightforward: no fines or imprisonment on your record, and general good conduct as a resident, the parts most applicants already clear without thinking about them. So the honest framing isn't, how much do you need to earn? It's, did every payment land on time? Are you holding the right visa length? And have you tracked your days abroad? Employers matter here too. A company that's consistently late remitting withheld income tax or social insurance premiums on an employee's behalf can drag down that employee's application, even though the worker never personally missed a deadline. Picture two applicants with identical income, both well above any informal guidance number. One paid every tax and pension bill by its original due date. The other paid the same total amount, just later each time. Same income, same total taxes paid, very different odds of approval. The income guidance also isn't one flat number. A single applicant and an applicant supporting a spouse and two children get evaluated against very different bars for stable livelihood, even though the law never states either figure directly. Before you apply, pull your full tax and pension payment history and check every due date, not just the balance. Confirm your current visa is at its status's maximum length. Log your departure and return dates for at least the past 5 years. And ask your employer or accountant for records early, since gathering years of documents under deadline pressure is where most applicants stumble. This builds on our Business Manager visa video. Different pathway, same theme. The headline number search engines give you is rarely the number that actually decides your case. Next in this series, what it costs to retire in Japan as a foreigner, given there's no dedicated retirement visa at all. None of this replaces a real consultation. Payment history evaluations and visa length exceptions get case-specific fast, and a licensed immigration lawyer can pull your actual record before you file, not after. Permanent residency was never really an income test. It's a paper trail test, and in 2026, immigration is checking that paper trail more carefully than ever. Quick recap: standard path 10 years, 5+ on work/resident status, spouse path 3 years married plus 1 year residence. 5-year visa strictly required from April 1, 2027, and every late payment counts against you even after it's settled. That's what actually decides a Japan permanent residency application in 2026, not the number most search results lead with. Subscribe for the rest of this series.
And that's today's breakdown. If you're serious about real estate or moving to Japan, research like this is exactly what separates a smart decision from an expensive mistake. Subscribe so you don't miss the next deep dive, and drop a comment if there's a city or word you want us to cover next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.